Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Freddie Gomez. Here on The Doctor is In, we'll answer your questions. Think of it as your online consultation in the time of COVID-19. Lalo na ngayon na marami sa atin ay work from home habang naka-quarantine. Sa opisina, madalas kang ma-stress. These days, it's admittedly extra stressful given the circumstances. Remote work is hard work. In today's episode, we'll discuss more about stress management and coping with the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. To shed more light on this topic, we have with us Lissy Ann Puno, who is a counseling psychologist as well as a relationship therapist and an advocate in promoting emotional wellness and psychological well-being. Welcome to the show, Lissy.
Hi, Freddie. Thanks for the warm welcome. Happy to be here with all your viewers.
Glad you could join us. Now, there's a lot of anxiety, uncertainty, and fear these days. And while we are all trying to be safe at home, that can be stressful in itself. Now, Lissy, what are the common stressors when working from home?
Yeah, well, right now, we are sort of like working from home for an extended period of time. This is our new normal. We are not used to it. And therefore, there's a lot of stressors that's coming up for us. First of all, basic stressors is really managing space and noise and time while at home with our loved ones. We want to be efficient, we want to be productive, but unfortunately, if we don't have that space in order to do that, then that could increase the stress that we're experiencing. There's also sort of like that we lose the structure that we're used to in our offices, the support system we have from our coworkers. There's a tendency to procrastinate. There's a tendency to not be as productive or as motivated. And these are all stressors that can come up for us while working from home. One of the things that should motivate us is, of
Now,
course, our goals, right? Our goals and the things that we want to accomplish in terms of our businesses and work. And if we don't have those, then it's hard to keep a vision of the future.
right now, are there any signs or warning signs that people should be looking out for that they might be having trouble coping with these stressors?
Right. Well, of course, stressors have an effect in three areas of our being. The first one, physical effects of the stress, can look like tension headache, muscle aches and pains, and of course, disruption in how we are feeling overall in our body. But there are also cognitive and mental effects of stress, such as difficulty in concentrating, difficulty in making decisions, mental fatigue, and just truly feeling a little bit more worn down when thinking about things, tasks that we have to do for work. And then, of course, lastly, is the psychological effects of the stress, which is a lot of worry, a lot of low mood, irritability, and just a change of overall sort of like view of our future, hopelessness, and some helplessness. When you experience all these effects of stress in the physical and cognitive and psychological areas, we just want to be mindful that we take care of ourselves so that we can prevent it from anything else that could worsen in the future.
Now, you mentioned a lot of psychological effects of these stressors. Do you think any of those may put the person at risk for depression, maybe?
Well, if it is prolonged for a period of time, then of course, unfortunately, mental illness and our mental health will be affected. We are also right now in a pandemic of mental illness of sorts. We have a lot of increase in issues that fall under depression, anxiety, mood disorders. And so we want to really practice self care in order to make sure that we are preventing any mental illness from spiraling down to its worst condition.
Now, let's take a look at some of the social media questions that we have. We have a question from Miko. Lagi akong unmotivated magtrabaho pag gising sa umaga. Normal po ba yon? At ano po kayang pwede kong gawin?
Well, talagang relevant yung tanong ni Nico sa atin today dahil a lot of people are losing their motivation, lalo na with the extended ECQ. You know, motivation comes from our dreams, our passions, all the things that we hope to achieve, especially our goals. And right now, because of the pandemic, nawala lahat ito. So right now, it is normal not to be as motivated because we are distracted. There are other things in our minds, marami tayong mga iniisip, kaya medyo mahirap talaga to stay motivated. Pero ang gusto kong sabihin kay Nico is may good days and bad days. Just keep going. Remind ourselves of the future. Remind ourselves kung ano bang gusto nating ma-achieve later on. And hopefully, his motivation will come back. And of course, if he stays grounded dun sa kanyang mga goals, then hopefully the motivation will return soon enough.
Now, our next question is from Anne. Ngayong work from home ang karamihan, possible pa rin po ba mangyari ang burnout?
Well, kung ikaw ay nag-work from home, my sense is you're using video calls or phone sessions to sort of like attend meetings and connect with your managers and your colleagues and so on. And ang recent studies, they are telling us and showing us that what is really happening is being on video calls and phone patches all day long is even more tiring than face-to-face work that we are doing. So yes, it is still possible to experience burnout kahit tayo ay work from home, only because mas may pressure pa nga kung tayo'y nasa bahay. Kasi if we are home, we want to do more. And so if we're trying to do more, we are exposed to technology 24/7. Gusto nating i-check at sumagot sa ating mga emails constantly, then unfortunately, this can also lead to burnout.
Wow, all of these things as we're trying to adapt to this new normal. So it is possible to have burnout even while we're at home. Now, here's our last question, Lissy, before we take a break. Paano po nakakaapekto ang stress sa trabaho at quality of life, especially during this time?
Yeah, well, so nabanggit ko kanina that the effects of stress can be felt in the physical body, our mental state, as well as psychological well-being. When we experience the full effect of the stress, then sometimes, unfortunately, nadadala natin ito sa bahay, sa ating mga relationships, our significant others, our spouses, our children, and our extended family. So you will notice that there's a change in mood, irritability, maraming mga pag-aaway, arguments, disagreements, and irritabilities and conflict. And when this happens, relationships can suffer. And of course, the overall environment of our homes can also suffer. So we have to be mindful that yung effects of stress of working from home can truly be felt in our relationships as well.
And speaking of relationships, when we return, we'll discuss how to manage relationships and how to keep that love alive during these challenging times. More of that after a short break right here on CNN Philippines. Hi, and welcome back to The Doctor is In. I'm Dr. Freddie Gomez. We hope that while you're staying safe at home, we can provide you with medical advice that you need right here on CNN Philippines. Our topic for today, stress management. How we can manage our relationships in stressful situations, just like what we are in now. With us is counseling psychologist Lissy Ann Puno. Now, Lissy, continuing with the conversation, how does stress affect relationships at home?
Well, as you can imagine, when this pandemic started, all the jokes, both positive and negative, were targeted towards relationships, marriages, and couplehood. And unfortunately, the reality is our relationship, especially with our spouse and our children, are one of those things that are truly affected by this enclosed space. Many relationships discovered that the relationships were not where it should be a lot of emptiness, distance, and disconnection. So these are the effects of the stress that has come up because of the pandemic. Now, unfortunately, couples need three things in their relationship: safety, connection, and passion. And all of these things were taken away from us by COVID 19. We don't feel safe. We are now maybe in relationship at home with people who we are not getting along with. We have been disconnected because of physical distancing. And of course, all our hopes and dreams medyo nawala sa atin. And because of this, the stress is mounting, the frustration and the irritability can be seen. So in relationships, we can imagine the effects of stress can be a lot of nagging, indifference, mga silent treatment, walang pansinan, a lot of maybe anger and frustration expressed to one another. But hopefully, there are some couples who are also using this time with their families to find joyful moments that they can share together, hopefully communicating more, finding opportunity to care for one another. And we hope to use this time of extended ECQ to really grow our relationship while on quarantine.
So going off with what you just said, you mentioned some things that what a relationship really needs, and this pandemic has caused somewhat chaos with all of those. So for our viewers, how can you keep your relationship healthy during this pandemic, even with these challenges that people are faced with?
Yes. So, Freddie, I just want to leave your viewers with three easy words to remember para naman they can use it as a guide. You know, uh, C, care for one another. Okay. Another C word, communicate with each other. All your fears and worries and anxieties. But at the same time, good memories, things that you can look forward to, learn from each other, and of course, the last thing is to connect with one another. Find moments wherein you can just be with each other in a loving moment or even learning things from one another. So care for each other, communicate with one another, and connect with the family at all times during this extended ECQ.
So the three C's: care, communicate, and connect. Very good advice, Lissy. Now let's take a look at some social media questions. Our first one is from Emily. I'm a parent of a 5-year-old and I'm working from home. How do I improve my patience in handling my child while working?
Right. Well, thank you, Emily. It's a question, and I hope that you have a co parent, and I hope that you have a support system at home. This is the one thing that Filipino families are rich in. We have a lot of support system around us. Now, at the age of 5 years old, a child might still need help with regulating their behavior. And now that they know that you are home, syempre masyado silang excited at sabik na makakasama kayo. So kailangan meron tayong signal at routine sa mga bata so that they will know when you are working from home and when it is time to be a mom. And sometimes ang signal nito ay saan ba kayo sa bahay nagtatrabaho, and of course ano bang suot nyong damit habang kayo nagtatrabaho. Usually simple signs like this can signal to a child that you are either working or now ready to be a mom. And sana mas-set nyo yung routine with your child. What time do you have time for them? So siguro 30 minutes at 5 o'clock or 1 hour at 7 o'clock. So help your child understand that just because you're home, it doesn't mean you are not working. So you can put a sign if you are in another room to signal to them that you are working. Now, of course, patients in caring for our children during this time, they're also feeling the stress. They are confused. They're also afraid. So please make sure that you're all practicing self-care. Establish routines with them. Set your boundaries when you're working and promise them time for fun later on when you're more available.
Okay, very good. Also, just to reiterate, the value of self-care, just like what Lissy mentioned. Now, our second question is from Kai. Ano-ano po ang mga enjoyable activities na maire-recommend din nyo na nakakapagpawala ng stress at pwede namin gawin sa bahay?
Siguro ang magandang guide sa mga list of activities na pwedeng natin gawin is connected to our five senses. Okay? So the sense of sight, something that we can sort of like look at that's beautiful outside in nature or pictures that remind us of good memories. Listening instead of 24/7 listening to bad news or news about COVID, ibalance ho natin ng konti that we also listen to maybe devotional music or pop music that we enjoy. Let's use our hands to create certain things. Hand massages, cooking, crafts that can help us sort of like remove the stress. And how about touch? Hugging our loved ones, being there for one another. So a good guide in choosing activities, na makakapag-alis ng stress, our guide is our five senses. Another guide could also be these four things. Something physical, please keep active. Exercise is very good. The second one is something creative, something that you can make. The third one is something you can learn. Meron ba kayong mga gustong pag-aralan that you didn't have time before? And of course, the last one is something fun, something enjoyable and pleasurable. Marami tayong Filipino stand-up comedians, check out their YouTube videos, say jokes with one another, play games. These are good guides for you to follow in order to relieve stress.
Okay, thank you very much, Lissy Ann, for joining us today and sharing your expert advice and very practical tips, especially in this time of pandemic.
Thank you for having me, and I wish you all to stay well and safe, and that I hope that we will all hang in there. This too shall pass. Stay strong, stay brave, and stay courageous wherever you are.
There you go. That was Lissy Ann Puno, counseling psychologist. When we return, we will discuss the pandemic's impact on the economy and how it is affecting your mental well-being. All that and more when we return. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Dr. Freddie Gomez, and you're watching The Doctor is In on CNN Philippines and on Facebook Live. So maraming negosyo ang nagsara o trabaho na pansamantalang nawala dahil sa COVID-19. Let's talk about how to safeguard our emotions and our mental health kahit na may mga kinahaharap na problema sa trabaho. Joining us in this discussion is Mr. Anthony Grecia. He's the president of the Philippine Academy of Occupational Therapists. Welcome to the program, Anthony.
Hi. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Okay. So, yeah, nice meeting everyone and nice meeting you, Doc. Yes. So
Now,
far, no,
Anthony, a
kasi,
lot of people have lost their jobs. Hello, Anthony?
yes, good here.
Yes, my question for you, Anthony, is a lot of people have lost their jobs or they're getting a pay cut due to this pandemic. How does all of this affect someone's mental health?
Hmm. Oh, kasi kailangan maintindihan muna natin yung konsepto ng mental health, no? So ang mental health, it's a state na kung saan ang tao ay alam niya yung kanyang potential at nakakapagtrabaho siya, at nakaka-cope siya dun sa normal stress ng everyday life at nakaka-contribute sa community. Now, um, first, ang unang step ay kailangan i-admit na yung stress na nangyayari ngayon ay kakaiba because it's a pandemic. So, dahil kakaiba yung stress is not a normal everyday stress, so yung tao ngayon may iba't ibang nararamdaman. Okay? So, pwedeng nandun yung takot, yan yung effect sa mental health. Nandun din yung sadness, nalulungkot. Okay? Or pwede ding nagagalit, may anger. So ito yung mga unang nakikita na yung tao ay na-affect na yung mental health, no? Pag tinignan natin yung kanilang emotion. Pagkatapos, since affected yung emotion, nakikita din natin nagbabago yung kanilang behavior sa everyday life, no? So pwedeng sobra yung tulog or kulang ng tulog, sobra yung kain, kulang ng kain, pwede ding maya't maya mainitin ang ulo, tapos hindi na nagagawa yung dapat niyang gawin na everyday, yung kanyang routine. So affected din yung routine. O, dahil nga, pwedeng nararamdaman yung tatlong emotion na sinabi ko. So, yan ang isang nakikita natin pag affected na yung mental health ng isang tao. Okay.
Now, Anthony, all of those that you mentioned, a change in routine, a change in demeanor, and everything, could point to signs of depression. Hindi ho ba? Now, if this situation can lead to depression, how should a worker or an employee handle the situation?
Okay. So importante muna, no, pagka sa depression, okay, ang tawag natin diyan, kailangan kilalanin muna natin yung ating nararamdaman. Okay, itong mga nararamdaman nito, yung sinabi kong tatlo, yung depression, fear at saka anger, para silang bisita ngayon. So pag bumibisita sila sa atin, kailangan kilalanin natin yung bisita. Okay, kasi kailangan aminin natin sa sarili natin sa umpisa na, "Uy, nagagalit ako dahil sa nangyayaring ito," or "Nalulungkot ako dahil unti-unti parang yung negosyo apektado," or "Natatakot ako baka wala na akong trabaho." Yun yung unang step. Kailangan tanggapin muna natin itong negative emotion na ito. Pagka natanggap natin, okay, saka tayo unti-unti na makakaisip ng ibang paraan kung paano natin um, how we will deal with these negative emotions, no? So mauna muna yung parang acceptance of the emotion. Okay, tapos saka natin unti-unting magagawa yung dapat nating gagawin sa everyday life. Kumbaga. So now itong depression, okay, importante din na alamin natin kung ano yung parang na ano ba yung ano yung kakaibahan niya sa dun sa kalungkutan at yung talagang depression lang, yung talagang yung depression na kailangan mag-consult, no? So kung halimbawa naiisip na wala na talagang pag-asa at nag-iisip na rin ng ah, mamatay, or we call it suicidal thoughts, no? Yun na yung parang indicator na kailangan na tayong mas kumonsulta ng espesyalista.
Right. So let's take a look at some of the social media questions. We have one from Maricel. Ang tanong niya ay, I am near to closing my business. How can I handle this crisis and overcome this loss?
Okay. So, yun yung sinabi ko kanina, once na natanggap natin yung emotion, tapos naalagaan natin yung sarili natin, kunwari, kumpleto tayo ng tulog, no, nag-eehersisyo tayo, then ito na yung susunod na kailangan mag-problem solve. Pag nag-problem solve, dito natin ah, ang tawag natin restructure or redesign yung ating buhay. I-redesign o restructure natin ang ating routine. I-restructure, i-redesign natin ang negosyo. Okay? So paliliitin ba natin? Okay? Or magpa-find ba tayo ng iba't ibang way to give our services para matuloy ang negosyo? No, so dito na tayo mag-iisip ng iba't ibang solusyon. Okay, pagkatapos natin na-handle yung emotion. So, restructuring and
Okay, we
redesigning
have
ng
another
policy.
question.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a third question, probably our last question before we end. Kung sakaling, this is from Neil, kung sakaling magtagal pa ang pandemic na ito, ano po ang recommendation ninyo na mas lalong ma-handle ng mga tao ang sitwasyon?
Okay. So, importante kasi ngayon yung ating mindset, no? So, yung mindset natin na una, okay, maging bukas tayo sa pagbabago. We are actually called to change. We have to learn how to change our behavior, our daily life, no? Kasi kung hindi tayo mag-change, no, syempre mahirap pagka hindi natin ilalala ang mga guidelines, magkakasakit tayo sa labas. So we are actually called to adapt to change. Yun muna yung unang mindset. Okay? Tapos, since we are we are called to change, we have to start changing. Kunwari sa bahay, kung nag-work from home tayo, aayusin ba natin na may isang lugar doon na hindi tayo pwedeng maistorbo or people cannot disturb us. Tapos, baka kailangan i-simulate din kung nakadamit ka na pang office, okay, at nag-work ka from home, para yung mga tao sa bahay, kikilalanin ka na hindi ka guguluhin, no? So, slowly, binabago mo yung schedule mo, yung area mo sa bahay. Pati yung mga habits mo rin, na binabago mo rin, na parang kung dati um, um, nasa traffic ka, ngayon mas may oras ka na, let's say, sa family. So, nire-restructure yung ating life sa bahay. Ganon din sa office, no? Kung papasok tayo sa office, so magbabago lahat ang ating sense of safety. Kasi dati yung usual na hugas kamay, no, hindi lang ganon. Meron tayong mask, no? So meron tayong facial shield. So lahat 'yon kasama na aayusin natin yung ating pamumuhay pagpunta sa office, whether lalabas ka or whether nasa bahay ka. So lahat babaguhin mo. Kaya importante yung openness to change. Ngayon, sa mga changes na ito, at times, we feel angry. You know, we start asking, bakit ba ito nangyayari? So, importante din yung tinatawag natin ng acceptance na nandyan na siya eh. So ngayon, paano natin masusurvive ito? Kailangan merong sense of tawag natin lakas ng loob at katatagan, no, sa mga paghihirap na makaakibat ng pandemic. Yes.
Right. So thank you very much, Anthony. Those are very helpful advice for people try in order to be able to cope sa lahat ng mga bagong mga stressors na ito, no? And how to cope with that during this pandemic. Thank you again, Anthony Grecia, President, Philippine Academy of Occupational Therapists.
Okay. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you also for sending us your questions, and we hope that we were able to provide you with some helpful answers. We'll see you again tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. here on The Doctor Is In on CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddie Gomez. Stay safe, everyone.